Hi, my name is Derek Chatterley, and this is my final film presentation for FMS360, titled Murph's Law. The film I chose was Interstellar, directed by Christopher Nolan, released in 2014. Planet Earth is dying, humanity is at the brink of extinction. Hope is given in the form of a black hole, which NASA sends a crew to traverse through to find a new habitable planet for humanity. We see pretty general sci-fi semantics in this film. A lot of it spends time in space. So we see different planets, different galaxies, spaceships, space stations, space suits. As well, we'll see these gizmos as in the form of sleeping hibernation pods, hydraulic thrusters and spacesuits for traversing terrain, and then video and audio communication from Earth to space. NASA is the head of this mission, so we see science labs for human fertilization, scientific equations for time and gravity. Robots and AI, one of my favorite parts in this film. We have these ex-Marine security robots. They control the spaceships. They do data calculations, information, ground missions, even conversation with the crew. Space travel's big. Like I said, they'll go to Saturn. There's a black hole outside of Saturn that they will enter. On one planet specifically, 1 hour spent on this planet equates to about 7 years back on Earth. And then a fifth dimensional type of travel, past, present, and future are all one. We see dystopias and utopias. As Earth is dying, natural resources are used up. The soil is unprofitable. Basically, the only thing that can be grown and provided is corn. Oxygen is depleting. So we hope that these new planets have soil, water, oxygen, things that humans need. Metaphor that I saw in this film. At the beginning, we briefly see Cooper as a pilot. His plane hits something. We don't know what it is. Shows him falling from the sky down to the earth, and almost this decaying world covered in this dust that's referred to as blight. It's a metaphor for biblical fall of man from the Garden of Eden into a dirty and unclean world. And then as a new hunt for the planet, a new planet ensues, it's like man's rise and return to the Garden of Eden and the state of grace. Cooper's daughter's name is Murph, coming from Murphy's Law, as whatever can happen will happen. This is shown many times within the film as events transpire on Earth or in space, that everything is of significant importance to teach the characters and lead them to their purpose or meaning on another potential world. The ideology is shown. Cooper believes he's doing the right thing. He's farming. He's providing crops of corn to his community. He's teaching his kids to do the same, be self-sufficient, to be successful in this type of environment. His family means most to him. He's conflicted with his decision to leave his family and Earth to find a new planet and hopefully save humanity. But his family is still first and foremost what's most important, to save his kids. So the value of relationships is very emphasized. We see family relationships. We see relationships between the AI and the crew members, that these relationships are treasured. The concept of time is very scarce. Its permanence is shown by the director as it connects everyone, but there never seems to be enough time for what they want. Gender representation. Cooper, male, ex-pilot, farmer, father, widower. He's kind of the head. He's the head pilot, but he's also kind of the leader of this crew. He's cynical, but he's hopeful for the success of the mission so that he can get back to his family. He's grounded. He's realistic. He's kind of the motivator for this crew as they need it. Brand is the only female on board. She's an expert in her field. She oversees these frozen egg cryo chambers that are meant for surrogacy if Plan A fails. If they cannot bring Earth's population to the new planet, they must grow these eggs to bring back humanity or populate this new planet. She cares about facts, evidence, data, more than feelings or hunches. We have Murph, who's Cooper's daughter. She becomes a scientist. She solves the impossible equation on gravity so that humanity can be saved and travel to this new home. Tars is the AI. He's the main robot in this. He's male in voice, represented. He doesn't differentiate between genders, have bias, favoritism. His settings can even be reprogrammed or changed by the crew members as they want. Sexuality, it's a little different in this show. There's not a big focus on romances or sex or sexuality in that sense. It is seen that and shown that heterosexuality would be necessary for the survival of the human race. But we don't see a lot of romantic ties. Cooper was married to a woman, had children. Tom's is Cooper's son. He eventually marries, has a son. Murph doesn't have any romantic ties or interests, but at the end, she's about 100 years old. We see her at her deathbed, basically, but she's surrounded by kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids of her own. Brand, she is not tied romantically, but we find out that she was in love with another scientist explorer named Edmund, who's part of the Lazarus missions. And then, like mentioned before, these frozen eggs were brought for surrogacy for the new planet in case human population cannot be brought from Earth. So again, heterosexuality would be ideal in repopulating humanity. Race is kind of scarce as well. We see the crew is, most of the people are Caucasian or white, except for two characters of relevance. We see a principal of the high school that Cooper's children go to. He talks about their future, how they can contribute to the community. But then we also see Romilly, who is one of the crew members. He's a physicist. He's a brilliant scientist. He has insight and information along on the mission that proves relevant and proves helpful as they're traversing the black hole. And even after his untimely death, as Cooper journeys to this fifth dimensional tesseract. Now, there's a they or them that are mentioned. They're referred to as other dimensional beings, guardian angels perhaps, a higher intelligence that are guiding our characters through the mission. Perhaps they placed this black hole by Saturn, allowing them safe passage. And then also that they are the ones that constructed this tesseract, this fifth dimensional tesseract, this thing that allows Cooper to communicate in past, present, and future with Murph. There's kind of two that I see. There's two groups, there's two classes that are represented in this film. We see one, which is the majority of humans in the world. They're in a state of poverty. They're depending on their own hard physical labor to survive. Farmers, scavengers, things like that. There isn't this division in class between them. Everyone's affected by the dust. Everyone's affected by the dying of the planet. So they almost have to work together and survive. But then on the other side, there's NASA, who is underground, who's working covertly, performing these missions, getting funding to go out into space and to try and find these planets. Now, AI technology is one of the coolest parts in this. These robots, Tars and Case are the names. They're these examples of AI, where they were military specialist robots, programmed with all form of AI to perform required tests of humans. Non-humanoid, they're box-shaped. We see them walk upright, move mechanically, some sort of power source or battery with a monitor on front. They're self-sufficient. They show diagnostics and data. They would be categorized as strong AI because they have this genuine simulation and can even explain how the crew thinks and feels in the film. Their humor, sarcasm, honesty, other settings are constantly being adjusted and changed by the crew to maybe relate more, to help them cope with what they're dealing with along this mission. Then we have the sci-fi canon. There's no sequel, prequel. This is a solo film directed by Christopher Nolan. So everything that's in it is canon for this story. It's been unchanged since 2014. We do see these this original story and idea, but it remains within the boundaries of space exploration, scientific facts for travel, limitations, ideologies, things like that. The characters, missions, theories, worlds, they're applicable to this film only. And then time is individual, it's pivotal within this canon that makes it unique, and it's unchanged by outside films or ideas. This film had a pretty big, it still has a pretty big impact on media and society. Just from being a Nolan film, we know that he deals with time, some aspect of time in most of his films, and they're very thought provoking and almost mind bending at times. And we focus on, people speculate and theorize on the meanings and significances of behind his ideas. So his movies are always being talked about years after release. Scenes and audio clips from Interstellar constant circulation on social media, clips used on TikTok, countless fan theory videos on YouTube, and always hopes of a sequel. And one of the coolest parts is that this credit and recognition was given to Nolan and the makers of the film by the scientific community for their most accurate depiction of a black hole in space shown in film. And that is my presentation. Thanks for watching.